On the justice level, he may have difficulties with communication because he tends to be exclusively critical of others and bear grudges for a long time. Well, this is not an easy thing for the melancholic people. They are critical of people. He tends to be a bad team player and do things his own way. Yeah, melancholic people do things their own way. And we have to respect them, but it's a very, very clear aspect of their temperament. They do things their own way. But about building the common good, it's not a big problem for him. He can easily strive for the common good because he's idea-oriented. So a melancholic person, he loves the common good, at least theoretically. But he needs boldness in order to achieve it. But the common good for him is something very good. He loves it. At the level of the idea, the common good is a great thing. The problem is going to be boldness. If you build boldness, this person can be an incredible leader. The magnanimity thing. He has no problem with contemplation. He tends to be aware of his personal dignity. I mean, melancholic people have a very strong sense of personal dignity. He tends to be aware of his talents, and he tends to fix his sight on the highest and noblest of goals. So contemplation is not a problem. It's a strong side of the melancholic. But then the weak side of it is going to be action. He fears action in which human imperfection becomes manifest. He doesn't like to run risks. He looks for certainty. He tends to be pessimistic, to magnify difficulties, and to fear the unknown. So those of us who are melancholic, we need to think about that. Action. Action is going to be the challenge in our life. Boldness, audacity, action. If we do this, then we can become very easily magnanimous people. We don't have problem with contemplation. Our problem is going to be action. From the humility side, you see, self-knowledge is not a problem. He tends to be aware of his talents. He tends to be aware that his talents are gifts from God. This is an interesting thing. The melancholic people have a tendency to be religiously minded because they're very contemplative. So to say, for a melancholic, to say, well, this is not my talent. This is a gift from God to me. For a melancholic, it's natural to say that. He's a poet, he's an artist. So to say that it's not me, it's God, for him it's something very positive. For a choleric, it's not so natural. A choleric, it's me. I am the doer. This is the result of my activity. It's a natural tendency for the choleric to think that he is the result of his personal activity. For a melancholic, it's the opposite. A melancholic will say, no. What I'm writing here, it's not me, it's God. What I'm producing here, it's not me, it's God. Because he feels happy of this idea that God is acting in him. For a melancholic, it's natural. For an artist, it's natural. Artists will always tell you this. I need inspiration. I need God's action in me. So for an artist, for a melancholic, it's not a big problem to recognize that his talents are God's gifts. But in terms of service, he has problems. Melancholic people, as I have told you, are self-absorbed. Self-absorbed. So what do you have to do in order to serve people? In order to serve people, you have to overcome this self-absorption. It's not easy, but you have to do it. And you can do it. It's about thinking, okay, I've been thinking a lot about myself. I have all my emotions, my passions, and my thoughts, and my sentiments, and my feelings. But I need to think more about the others. So melancholic people need to think, I need to dedicate time to the others every day. because it's not natural for me, being a melancholic, to dedicate time, at least spiritually, to the others. I dedicate a lot of time, being a melancholic, to my thoughts, to my feelings, to my sentiments. But to think about the others is not something natural for a melancholic. Melancholic, he can be alone for a year. He will not become crazy. He can be alone with himself for years. He likes to be alone. He likes. If you have a friend with a melancholic and you say he's going alone, let him go alone. He needs it. He needs it. A sanguine just cannot stand to be alone with himself. He needs to be with people. He needs to have fun. You know, these are very different people. Biologically speaking, they have very different structures. So the problem with a melancholic is this, is because you have a tendency to self-absorption, and you have to know, I need to make place in my life for the others. You know? The choleric, he sees you, but he doesn't care for you. He cares for the goal. So he can walk on yourself. He can walk on yourself. The melancholic, he just does not see you. You're not. You see, it's not a problem. You're not. There is no place for you in him. You know. So the melancholic has to work on this. And he has to think, I have to make place for the others. So I need to dedicate time every day to think about people, to pray for certain people, to be with certain people. I cannot be alone with myself all the time, because first I will become crazy. You can become crazy. Melancholic people become crazy quite easily. Yeah, of course. And they have to know this. So one of the best ways for them not to become crazy is to make a lot of space to others. A lot of space. It costs them. It's not easy, but they have to do this. So finish here with the melancholics. The key things for melancholics is this. I think two things: boldness, and making space for people in your life.